guys, it's Dr. Kathleen Nash. I've been getting a lot of requests from my weight loss clients lately about some different food ideas or recipe ideas. So since today's my food prep day, I thought I would share with you a couple of things that I like to make, some of my favorite recipes right now. So I'm just getting ready to unpack my food and we'll get started. Okay, so I just had a chance to unpack my bag, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I bought for my week. I went to 2 stores. You obviously do not have to do that. The only reason I do is because I use the Korean market. I get almost probably all of my meat and some of my vegetables from the Korean market here in town. So if you want more information on that, just go ahead and let me know. So basically, like what I have here, these are sweet potatoes. So they're not yams, they're actual sweet potatoes. This is a Korean sweet potato and this is just a white one. I got cauliflower. I'm going to be using the cauliflower in a low-carb kimchi fried rice. That's probably one of the recipes I'll show you how to make. I got a spaghetti squash with the sauce. I'm not making the sauce. I'm actually going to go ahead and use a sauce that I found because I like the macros on it. So just to show you, the macros on this are great. For a half cup, it's only 40 calories. It's 1.5 grams of fat. Only has 7 carbohydrates and right there less than 1 gram of sugar. That's really important to me, is that there's no sugar added in the sauce. So it just makes it a little easier. Asparagus, that'll just be one of the vegetables that I'll be using this week. The eggs are going to go in both in the low carb fried rice that I'm making, plus it's going to go in something called bibimbap. So bibimbap is a traditional Korean dish. It's basically just marinated vegetables and meat on rice. You also use egg in it, which is why I have some eggs here. So one of the other reasons I like the Korean market is they've already got it all spread out for me. So I don't have to worry about cooking it, or sorry, I don't have to worry about cutting it up or portion size. You know, they've already taken care of it for me at Greenland. And then this is going to be the meat that I'll be using for the bibimbap, which is beef shabu shabu. And then this is Bulgogi, which is a fancy way of saying pork bulgogi, which is like a marinated pork. So that'll be another meat that I'm using, plus the standard chicken breast that I eat. So, okay, so I've got my ingredients ready for my low-carb fried rice. I actually decided last minute to keep the kimchi out of it because I've got enough ingredients here. So basically, I've got the 1 head of cauliflower, about half of a diced onion, zucchini squash, which is diced. I also have about a tablespoon of chopped garlic. Seasonings are going to be the coarse black pepper, the sesame oil. I've also got a little bit of sea salt here, soy sauce, just regular soy sauce, and the Trader Joe's soyaki, which is a combination of some more minced garlic and soy sauce and teriyaki sauce. So for the low-carb cauliflower fried rice, with the cauliflower, first you're going to want to wash the head of the cauliflower, make sure it's nice and clean, and then you basically want to get all of the stems off. If you notice, they're like down to little florets, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into my food processor. You can also use a blender, but just know if you use a blender, you're probably going to have to do it in 2 batches. I will probably do it in 2 batches as well because it might be a little bit too much for one. So we're just going to stick that much in there right now. Right, and I'm just going to pulse it like that. Right? And basically what I want is I want it to have kind of that grainy consistency like rice would be. So while I was pulsing the cauliflower, I also went ahead and browned my onions and got them sauteed. I did that in a tablespoon of the sesame oil because, again, and since I decided to take the kimchi out, I still want the cauliflower to have that Korean type taste, and they use a lot of it. It's really good. Also, it's at medium-low, just so you can see that's where I'm going to cook it. So I'm going to start, now that these are nice and browned, I'm going to start adding in the cauliflower and the rest of the spices. The first thing I'll probably add is the garlic. I don't want to add that while this was browning because I don't want the garlic to overpower anything, so I only leave it in there for maybe 30 seconds and then start adding the cauliflower. So now that I've added the cauliflower and I've mixed it in with the onions and the garlic, I'm going to start adding in the sauce. I really don't measure it, I just kind of eyeball it to how I want it to look. Certainly if you're concerned about sodium, you should measure it. So I'm going to start with the soy sauce. So just a little bit. I know that looks like a lot, but it really wasn't. And then I'm going to do the soyaki, but not much. Just that little bit, and I'm going to start stirring it in. So now I'm also going to add a little bit of cracked black pepper in there, and I'm going to give it a good mix. You're probably going to want this to sit on low heat for about 5 minutes or so that the cauliflower soaks up the sauce and gets a little bit soft for you. And I'm going to add the zucchini and give it a mix and let this just sit for about 5 more minutes. Okay, so the veggies have been sitting there now for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to add, I add egg whites to this, just like kind of like a traditional fried rice dish. So I'm just going to scoop the cauliflower over to the side like that, and move this so the right part is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 egg whites. So I just cracked open some egg whites. There's a little bit of yolk in there, but not much. And I'm just going to put that right there and let it cook in the same pan and let the proteins break down, and then I'm going to stir it into the rice, just like you would see like in a traditional restaurant. Now normally I don't do just egg whites. I don't advise you to do just egg whites either. But because I'm going to be serving this dish with my pork bulgogi, the Bulgogi bulgogi, that's a little bit of a fattier meat. It's in a marinade, so there's a little bit of carbohydrate to it. So I'm keeping my side dish really super low carb. So I'm just going to let this protein denature, which is a fancy way of saying it gets white and cooks, and then I'm going to take it out and go to the pork. And there it is. So that's the finished product. So I'm going to go ahead and cook the bulgogi, and then we'll move on to the bibimbap. This is the bulgogi, the pork bulgogi. That red that you're seeing on there, Koreans are really fond of like red pepper and red pepper paste and the sesame oil and stuff like that. And so that's what it's marinated in. Also in Korean cooking, if you've never been to a Korean restaurant, you'll notice they use like a lot of tongs and scissors to break up the meat. One of the things I like about going to the Korean market in order to get my meat is that it's pretty much already cut up for me, if you notice, right? So it's already sliced. It's sliced pretty thin. So it's going to be really easy for me to measure this out and couple it with the cauliflower fried rice. So this basically just has to sit here and cook for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll plate it up with the rice. While my bulgogi is cooking, I'm getting my rice ready to make the bibimbap. With the rice, I use just a regular sticky white rice. Sticky rice is really, really popular in Korea and in Asian recipes. So that's basically a Calrose rice. So that's what I'm using. I'm only making a cup, so this is a cup of rice right here. And I'm just going to add 2 cups of water and cook that and finish up with the bulgogi. So as the bulgogi is cooking, usually in a traditional Korean restaurant, when you have like bulgogi and barbecue or whatever, especially if you're cooking bulgogi on a barbecue, there'll be slats so that the juice that you're seeing will be able to drain off. Obviously I don't have that kind of a grill in my house, so all I'm really going to do is drain this out a little bit, get some of that juice out of there, and that's going to give it like a little bit crispier, thicker kind of a taste to it. So I'm just going to get some of that juice over into the container that the bulgogi came in, and then continue cooking it probably for like 5 or 10 more minutes. That's pretty much the finished product. You can really see, you know, there's not too much of the juice left, right? I did pour a lot of it out, but if you get a close kind of look at it, you'll see it's got this nice kind of thicker glaze on the meat. So this is pretty much done, and we're going to head on over to the bibimbap. So this is my bibimbap recipe. Actually, I learned how to make it the first time I went to Seoul. I learned it from a South Korean chef, But honestly, it's really not that hard. It's just vegetables and rice with meat. You're going to marinate some things, you're going to blanch a couple of vegetables, and our Korean market makes it really easy by doing the vegetables for you. So this is the vegetables that I got from our Korean market. This is like the standard vegetables that go in bibimbap. So this is bean sprouts here, chopped julienne carrots, spinach. This is bracken fern. Bracken fern is a fern. It's a plant that you find. They grow in the mountains of Korea. And it's used a lot in Korean recipes, a really good vegetable, hard to find here, so you'd find it at the Korean market. And then zucchini. And so they've already been marinated. You can see there's like sesame seeds and things on it. If you do want the recipe, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. The only thing, therefore, because the market did that for me, is I had to prep the meat. So this is the beef that I'm going to be using in the bibimbap. What I used to marinate the beef was a couple tablespoons of the soy sauce. I also used about 1.5 tablespoons of the hot sesame oil. You don't have to use hot. I personally do because I really like the taste of it. I like spicy. And actually I'm running low on it and they don't sell it anymore, so I'm going to have to figure out where I can get some more. So what we're really going to do is just start sauteing these and plate it up, and I'll show you kind of the traditional way that you serve it. So I'm just going to build 1 serving of bibimbap. In order to do that, I put a little bit of regular sesame oil in the bottom of the bowl, and I'm just letting that heat up. I've actually got it a little low. Probably need to turn that up. And I'm going to add 1 serving of rice. So a common thing that I'll hear from my weight loss clients about Asian cooking or Asian people in general is that they eat a lot of rice, and so how come they're not necessarily heavy if they eat a lot of carbs like that? Well, it is true that they do eat rice. It's not really a lot. So for example, with 1 serving of bibimbap like this, when I made that rice, I put a cup of dry rice into my cooker. It's going to make 2, and so there's the rice that's cooked, but this is kind of a traditional Korean bowl that they put rice in, and you'll notice that there's not a whole lot in there. So that actually is only 70 grams. So I'm gonna put that in there and then I'll show you what it looks like. Here's the rice. So if you look at the size of this bowl, you know, I mean, there really is not a large amount of rice. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take each of the vegetables 1 at a time, and I'm going to just quickly saute them and heat them up and get them a little soft. So each one probably is only going to be sauteed for maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'm going to set them in the bowl, and I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see, we've plated everything, and this is how it looks when it goes in the bowl. They always like it to look very pretty. So you have the meat, the carrots, the zucchini, the bracken fern, the sprouts, and the spinach. But if you listen, because it's been sitting on here and the rice is underneath it, with that rice and that oil, what that's going to do is make the rice have a really crispy kind of coating to it, so that when you mix this up, the rice isn't just soft, it's kind of got a crispy thing. So I don't know if you can hear that. But that's the best part of making the bibimbap in the dalsalt, in the stone bowl. You don't have to make it this way. You don't have to buy a stone bowl in order to make bibimbap. You can just put it in a regular bowl. This is just another way of doing it, and it's a way that I really like. So I'm going to do the finishing touch, which is I'm going to fry an egg, and I'm going to lay the egg on top, and then this meal is going to be ready to go. So here's the finished product. Has to go on a plate because it's so hot. And then this is that red pepper paste. So remember I said that they eat a lot of that. Very spicy. Just depending upon how spicy you like your bibimbap, you're just going to put as much in as you want, and you'll use the spoon there and mix it all up, and you have a great meal. So I'm going to eat my dinner. I'm going to finish my food prep for the week. And if you have any questions, go ahead and visit me at drnash.com or pacifictotalweightloss.com. Otherwise, have a good night. Good luck.